Hello everyone. Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Sukinah Amir, and I'm delighted to talk to you and give you a presentation about leadership in clinical practice. 6 years ago, I was a nurse student assigned to intensive care unit to observe and learn, and I can't forget the patient I took care of, an old man with multiple organ dysfunction. The patient's heart stopped many times in front of my eyes, and I couldn't do anything because, I just was a nurse student and, I couldn't be able to intervene. But the problem was that the ICU staffs were repeatedly doing CPR for more than 1 hour. Eventually, a doctor rushed from the emergency department and gave an order to stop all those useless interventions. Despite the fact that the doctor was a son of this patient, he was not the head of the unit, nor one of the staff, to give the order. However, at that challenging situation and under the stress, he made a decision. He ended the agony of his father and stopped wasting the effort of all medical staff. The risk of wrong decision is preferable to the terror of indecision. Maimonides. So now you might wondering or ask these questions. Is it really important to have someone to take or make a decision? Who it should be? Does he or she need to have the authority? Let's answer these questions together. At the end of this presentation, you will be able to define nursing leadership and recognize some of the essential attributes. You will also see how crucial nursing leadership is in clinical practice. Lastly, you will know different leadership styles, and I will tell you my preferred one and give you some reasons. So let us begin then. What's nursing leadership in contemporary literature? The term leadership has been varyingly defined amongst many authors. The definition alters accordingly to different author or different theory, while some authors such as Reed and others claim that there is no specific way to evaluate and define the leadership in clinical practice. Others, such as Courtney and others, argue that clinical leaders share some common vital attributes. For instance, they communicate effectively, they add values to the followers, and they facilitate others to be creative and more innovative. Moreover, they are supportive, approachable, and decision makers. Therefore, nursing leadership is a group of skills of being able to coach, inspire, improve, and the most importantly, to unite the health caregivers to achieve common goals. What are the goals? These goals, of course, are patient safety and excellent care. This brings us to the next point. Why nursing leadership is very important, especially in community clinic. And this is the place I worked in before. Frankly speaking, community services are not demanding when comparing with ICU, emergency department, or oncology. Nevertheless, leadership is indispensable for 2 reasons. I would like to explain them in more details. Firstly, to ensure patient safety. And I tell you why. Many nurses in my primary center were seniors, so they were very old and, been working for more than 25 years. So they needed to update their knowledge and train more regarding the new practices. So the best way to do that was by encouraging them to use evidence-based practices. Rao argues that there are multiple approaches to educate nurses. For instance, by using simulation method, crossover method, and many others. Therefore, in my clinic, I used one of these methods, which was the interactive method. I encouraged them to search and update their information regarding evidence-based practices. After they collect the most updated data, they give clinical presentations. This approach allows the participant to interact actively, which means at the same time they receive and provide the knowledge. And also I'm glad to share you a photo from my center in World Asthma Day. 2 nurses called Haya and Reem from Chronic Disease Department gave a very informative presentation about Asthma Day and the latest updates on asthma treatment. They also distributed printed flyers containing the main points. They did actually a great job. Secondly, the leadership is inevitable need. Why? To maintain job satisfaction. And let me start with a study from my own country. In Saudi Arabia, nurse shortage in both hospitals and primary centers is one of the most growing concerns, correspondingly with the high rate of employee turnover. Therefore, to mitigate this issue, nurses leaders need to learn more about managerial skills, and they need to also engage in professional programs regularly. One of these skills needed is how to empower the staff. Empowering staff by giving them autonomous and sharing them the decision-making process have been approved to increase the sense of belonging among Malaysian nurses, as well as job satisfaction and eventually their productivity. Other skill needed is the ability to build healthy relationship with subordinates. The harmony between the leader and the staff is a hallmark of effective leadership. Trust, excellent communication, respect, and support are the key elements to have a good connection with your followers. Let us move to the last part. According to Cummins, different styles of leadership emerge from self-awareness. However, nurses may adopt different styles of leadership interchangeably, which means you can shift from autocratic to democratic or from laissez-faire to transformational according to the situation. There are two main classifications, however. We have task-focused and relationship-focused styles. The examples of task-focused leadership are transactional, autocratic, and laissez-faire, while transformational, emotional intelligence, resonant, go under the category of relationship or relational-oriented styles. Nevertheless, the transformational leadership model is my preferred one, because of many reasons, of course. Firstly, leaders adopting this model, they ideally influence people, consider them as individuals, stimulate their intellectualities, and motivate them. Secondly, subordinates under this type of leadership are less stressed, highly motivated, and more productive. Moreover, a study conducted at a hospital in Taiwan shows that after applying transformational leadership, nurses expressed high job satisfaction and general well-being. Last but not least, I also prefer this style because it's evident that transformational leaders have values and high standards of morals that develop their integrity and fairness. Thus, they are trustworthy and more reliable. And this takes me to the end of the presentation. So let me conclude the main points by going back to the previous story I told you in the ICU. We can see clearly that leaders influence people without authority. So you don't need to be a manager or the head nurse or, as we can see the doctor was he came from different department. Also, leaders can make a decision in a very compelling circumstances. If you remember, the patient was his father and he made that decision, and it was a very sensitive situation for him to let the father die peacefully. Moreover, this skill is attained by practicing and gaining sufficient knowledge. Finally, leaders do not only tackle the recent issues, but they always have mission and future vision. So he stopped the unnecessary pain, and he stopped also or saved the staff's energy to serve other patients in the unit. So these are the main points, and I would like therefore to finish my presentation with a quotation from a famous American writer called Tom Peters. He said, "Leaders do not create followers, they create more leaders." So hope you guys enjoyed this presentation and you find it very useful For more information, please take a look on the references below and do not hesitate to ask any